Welcome to part 2 of my video series on my project. This video is going to demonstrate what I would call the back-end view of FireIt. The currently active sections represent some of the aspects of the GUI I worked with behind the scenes in the office. This is where I would access the data required by the touchscreen terminals used by the service staff, as well as customization of how that data would be displayed in their user experience. In the current state of the FireIt project, I have set up 3 similar aspects. I'm starting with the admin view, as generally I would make data changes at least a day before, because overnight updates were much safer than restarting during the service hours. To access the admin view, we're going to use the landing page skip to bypass the service staff view, something that would not normally exist. The first section is menu entry setup. This is the area of the system I would use for things like price changes, if Chef Cheryl had a new menu item, or I had set up new cocktail measurements in our electronic pouring system and needed a way to punch them in. To demonstrate, we'll say 2 new pizzas are being added to the menu. There are definitely a lot of inputs. They're here mostly for authenticity of what I was working with, and also I wanted to set them up for future project stretch goals as I was building the component in the first place. We can add a pepperoni pizza to start. One of the issues I would deal with is correcting character limits or missing categories. So to be authentic to the experience, only a name is required to create an item, and character limits don't matter in this case because of font clamping. If we were adding a bunch of items this way, it would of course be a bit tedious, so Squirrel worked around a cloning system, so we can select the item we just made and clone it to have any properties carried over to a new item. I also added the word clone there just to make it a little more obvious of what's going on. Now when we click on the item, we just have to update the name. And maybe the price, and we are good. We can also, of course, delete any items that we're not using anymore. Otherwise, all of the menu items are organized into categories, and they've been populated with items so far whenever I've had time to add some of them in. Okay, we're back at the admin view, and we're gonna skip to the table map settings. At one of the venues I worked at, the floor plan layout would change quite frequently, and I would set up the map to represent the changes to help ensure orders were made on the correct table. So we can pretend there's a large reservation tomorrow and make some changes for that. So first we're gonna add a table. And oops, we can't do that one because it already exists on the map. So there we go. And oops, we gave it the wrong. Let's update. And now we're just gonna move them a bit so that they're together. Because we are not working with a next day update in a live system, I did also add some error handling to prevent anything from happening that should not. But otherwise, we can save these table positions, and this map will be updated on the server view. Let's go back to the section we skipped, the employee setup. This is where employees can be created and also activated, which would allow them to log into the server terminal of the front view of the FireIt app. Creating a new employee does require an employee number and a first name. Similar to the table map, we can't duplicate an employee or user ID. Once we've created a user ID and password, in which we have not included any letters. Add this employee, and now when we go back, they are ready to be activated. Employees that are activated cannot be deleted until they are deactivated. However, we're going to leave Loom this way because we're going to use this user in a later video. The remaining sections of the admin view have been set up for future stretch goals. They would do things like generate reports on payments that employees have taken, as well as settings to change prices based on what time it is, for example, like a happy hour. The Squirrel system didn't have a scheduling component that I used. However, it's something that I would like to try making in the future, and it would kind of give another use for the employee database. Anyways, now that we have set up a new employee and updated the tables and the menu, we are done with the admin view, and things are set up for tomorrow, aka the next video set. Thank you for taking the time to watch this demonstration.